Well, you know this, South Africans live stressful lives, from high crime rates to rolling blackouts to water shortages. There's a lot going on, right? Now, experts say your furry friends can provide crucial emotional support. So let's discuss this with veterinarian Dr. Guy Fyvie as we mark Mental Health Awareness Month. Doctor, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it. Let's perhaps start with looking at the key differences between an emotional support animal and a service animal. There's a difference there, right?
Yes. So, I mean, we can think of generally all our pets can be emotional helpers, whereas service animals are specifically trained to do a job. So we think about the guard dogs, for example. Their job is to look after that blind person and to make sure that they don't, crash into a car or get into the wrong places.
Now let's have a look at what some of the breed considerations are. Are there specific animals that are just better inclined to be emotional support animals?
Interestingly enough, a goldfish can be a support animal if that's all that you've got and all you have, and that you can look after. But yeah, all different species, different people will react different, to their own pets.
Now, doctor, if we have an emotional support animal, I find it interesting. Does this mean that, for instance, it's not just my pet at home? I'm actually allowed to take this animal with me wherever I go because this animal is providing me emotional support? Is that how it works?
Yes, it is. There's certain conditions where somebody needs an animal, needs that touch, the feel of the fur, for example, will keep them calm, and that really that's what they need. And so having that animal with them calms them down, that they do not do things that they don't, that they shouldn't be doing.
Doctor, talk to me about the specific training that then is required for emotional support animals, as well as some behavioral guidelines. Are those important?
Yeah, so, obviously it has to be an animal that is able to go, if that animal needs to go into public, there needs to be a lot of training there involved there, because, we know like guard dogs and emotional dogs, everybody will want to touch them and play with them, and that is also a connection between the people in the general people talk and the person whose emotional dog that is, or animal that is. So yes, they definitely do need to be well trained to not obviously interact badly with other people. They need to have good manners. You can't have an emotional dog or a guard dog that is going to go and look and steal people's food from the neighbor, from the other tables, that kind of thing.
Now, Dr. Guy, let's have a look at where the research has shown that specific mental illnesses is actually improved when you have an emotional support animal. Yeah,
so there's been a lot of research on that. And certainly it's shown that if just even just the touch, certain people, if it's just the touch of the animal, having that animal around helps to reduce the stress, and then also the interaction between the person with the animal and the public. So there's then a connection between human and human, as opposed to and that animal is the conduit between the two.
You mentioned earlier that, for instance, it is good then for you to take your emotional support animal even into public spaces. It can help some people with anxiety disorders, etc. In South Africa, is there specific documentation or certification that is necessary for you to, for instance, take this animal with you on an airplane or into a restaurant to prove that this is not just your pet, but it's actually your emotional support?
Yes, I mean that would, I don't know if there's a specific regulation, but yeah, you would need to have some sort of documentation that you need to have that animal with you. You can't just bring any dog and just say, this is my emotional helper. You would have to have, specifically that animal needs to be able to be in the wider world, to be able to, it's not going to be aggressive, it's not going to bite children, etc., etc. So it would have had to have gone through a process of training.
And who gives you that documentation? Do we go to our vet? Is it the psychologist? Do you know how that process works?
Not really. I'm not entirely sure. But there would be, I should imagine, certainly for the guide dogs, for example, that's a very obvious one where that kind of animal would have a certification, and it's obvious that that dog is a working dog.
Lastly, from my side, Doc, let's just perhaps end with some information for our viewers who might be wanting an emotional support animal. What would your advice be for them? Key things to look out for, and where would you suggest we find such an animal?
Well, I'd like to say that all pets are emotional helpers. I have two little kittens running around here that help me to stay sane. So yes, that is at the bottom end. Further up, yes, you would need to go to an organization that would be able to do the training, and certainly the Guide Dog Association is one of those ones where you would get a lot of information from, because I think the Guide Dog Association also does a lot more than just guide dogs per se, but also those mental health dogs.
Doctor, maybe before I let you go, you've now mentioned goldfish, which I find very interesting. You mentioned your cats there. I know that my dog, Spencer, he's not just my dog child, but he is honestly my emotional support. I found the goldfish very strange that you mentioned. Is there any other strange animals that we perhaps might not think of, but that could really be conducive for emotional support?
Yeah. So I mean the goldfish. Yeah. So certainly, if that's all you can have is that, and that's what you see every morning. If you live on your own, that's a pet. People, have all sorts of animals that they use as pets or as emotional, and really any animal that we can domesticate or train certainly would be a case of could become an emotional help animal.
There we have it. Thank you so much for your time this morning. That was veterinarian Dr. Guy Fyvie talking to us there about emotional support animals. They can be of help to you. They can look after you. Just make sure that you can look after them as well.